Dune Part 2 is pretty much everything you wanted for a satisfying conclusion to the story that was being built up in Part 1. I do have a few criticisms of this movie that will probably have some of you bitching in the comment section, but I want to make one thing very clear. I still think this movie is good. Really damn good. Even with some of the problems I do have. Honestly, I don't even know where to begin. There's just so many things I love about this movie. Firstly, let's just start with the cinematography. It was brilliantly done. So many different shots that captured the world of Dune perfectly, from the deserts of Arrakis to the slave pits of Giedi Prime. They do a solid job for the most part of exploring the small details of different parts of the galaxy, especially with the limited time they had within a movie. But this will lead to one of my bigger criticisms of Dune Part 2 later on in this video. But speaking of the smaller parts of the story, I really enjoyed the film's depiction of the Fremen, not only as a fighting force, but their culture, their way of life, and the differences that each subsection of the Fremen have. It's cool to see some of them following him because they believe he's actually the Messiah, while others just simply think he's a good leader, as he's proven himself time and time again, especially in battle. And the fights in this movie are just something else. Everything from the big hit and run raids on Spice Production to the one-on-one combat, all of it is just so fucking badass. And without getting into spoiler territory, I think there's one specific fight towards the end of the movie that they did a really good job on. Not only when it comes to the choreography, but also how and when they utilize background music to build up the tension and suspense. In fact, they do this throughout the entire movie, with one of my favorite scenes, again not to get too much into spoiler territory, being when Jessica entered this cave to do a specific thing to partially fulfill a part of the prophecy. And on its own, there is some tension, but with the music added on top of it, there's almost an element to it that's unsettling, which is a great way of depicting what Jessica is feeling in this moment, rather than telling us how she feels. And this isn't the only instance where the film does a phenomenal job expanding and portraying these characters even with the limited time they had. So a big criticism that I kept hearing from some other people was how there were certain deaths towards the end of the film that felt anticlimactic. And I could kinda see where they're coming from, but me personally, I didn't really care. I honestly thought they were done just fine. Could the film have done it a little bit better? Maybe, but at best this would be a very, very minor nitpick criticism. Another one that I heard was how much they focused on certain side characters like Jessica, for example, rather than some other characters that they think should have gotten more screen time. And I actually don't mind this. I would even go as far as to say that I like when they expand on certain side characters. But the reason why I'm bringing up these minor criticisms is because I think it leads to a larger issue for me. And that is how much they're trying to cover in a limited runtime, leaving to the writers to condense down or simplify certain points. And I understand that an adaptation is going to have to make certain changes going from one form of media to another. That just makes sense. But just as a movie, they were trying to balance and juggle so many different things. The events and battles on Arrakis, the motivations of the Fremen, the bloodline plan of the Bene Gesserit, the scheming of the Emperor and the Harkonnen, while covering specific characters' perspectives. It just left certain parts of the movie feeling a little bit sporadic in my opinion, as they were just trying to bounce between so many parts of the story. This leads me to my final criticism, which kinda just ties back to the previous one. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Frank Herbert's original Dune should have been made into a trilogy. I think this would have given the writers a better opportunity to truly flesh out all these plot points and characters while maintaining a solid pace throughout. And trust me when I say there is easily enough material in the first book to make a trilogy off of. Now, with all that being said, if you're currently watching this and you haven't seen the film yet, let me just make this very simple for you. Go see it! Even with my criticisms, I still think Dune Part 2 is an amazing movie that handles the original source material really well. With just 2 movies, they brought to life Frank Herbert's Dune in a way that I didn't even think was possible. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking, subscribing, and comment below what I should do next. I'll do animes, shows, movies, games, whatever. But again, thank you so much for watching.